Hello and welcome to a new video. So today we are going to be doing a Q&A and I'm just going to answer some questions that some of my viewers left in the Discord server, link to that in the description below. But also, I'm considering turning this into a series, depending on how well it does and what your feedback is and everything. So if you'd like your question to be considered for a future episode in the series, leave that in the comments below. And without further ado, let's start. Actually, I have one update. You'll probably have seen this in the community section, but I do have a new scripted Vanguard series coming soon. It's very exciting. I'm looking forward to it. I'm in the middle of working on the first episode, and that'll be up premiering on the channel pretty soon. So keep an eye out for that. If there has been, a little less Vanguard Zero stuff than usual recently, that'll be the reason why. Don't worry, I'm still working on videos, same amount as I usually have been. So without further ado, let's get into some questions. Okay, so the first one, wow, starting immediately pretty heavy. You know what, I don't expect to monetize this video or anything anyway, so I'm just gonna say what it says. Maybe this is a bit sensitive to some, but what's your opinion of the current state of the world? I mean, there's not much to really say, if I'm completely honest. The COVID stuff sucks, but luckily it seems to be blowing over, and I feel like people who are too pessimistic about it, I think being too pessimistic about this kind of situation ends up spreading more harm than good. Obviously, be careful, don't spread it, stay inside if you can, but anyone pretending this is the end of the world is taking it a bit too far. I'm sure we'll be fine in a few weeks or months' time, just to wait it out. And then, of course, they specifically include the protests. Should I have to say this? I'm going to say it anyway. Black Lives Matter. I think that's all I really need to say on the topic. Okay, so, if you could change one thing in any part of the Vanguard show or scenes, which would it be? So one thing, just show the card fights, really. I mean, this is like weird to me, but I used to, and still kind of do, Vanguard anime episode reviews, and for the longest time that was like the biggest part of the channel. Like, that was the thing people would come to my channel for the episode reviews, because that was like the main series I did. But now it's Vanguard Zero. But yeah, if you want my more in-depth opinions about the anime and stuff, I used to do, and still kind of do it. I'm a bit busy for it, but I like trying to do some when I have the time. But I do Vanguard episode reviews, and my biggest problem with especially the reboot era is that it would just be a bit too fast-paced for its own good. Slow down, actually show the card fights. Not every single episode has to have too much going on or anything. Just sometimes showing a decent, fun card fight is enough of a reason for an episode to exist, in my opinion. So that's the one thing I change. I just slow it down a little bit. Which clan do you hope the next Vanguard protagonist used that hasn't been used already? So I'm going to say there's two answers to this. The first is the one that bushiroad will actually do, and that's that the next protagonist will most likely use a brand new clan because it's easy marketing. What's the easiest way of selling cards? Give a brand new clan to a brand new protagonist. It's exactly what they did for Chrono. But if we're just talking about which already existing clan the next protagonist should use, I gave it a bit of thought, and I think, honestly, tachikaze. I think the next protagonist should use tachikaze. I think dinosaurs are a theme for a clan that should be popular, right? People like dinosaurs, right? Like, Kagero proved that dragons are popular, so dinosaurs should also be popular. And I feel like they always kind of got the shaft. Tachikaze never really got their time to shine, and I feel like with a new deck that a protagonist uses, I think tachikaze could potentially go from one of the least popular clans to one of the most popular clans. So that's my answer, tachikaze. Favorite Pokemon game? Heart Gold, probably. Yeah, I like Heart Gold. If the reboot did not happen, any ideas for Vanguard follow-ups after GZ? I've got a few ideas here and there. Basically, to kind of sum it up, is the big thing I want from the Vanguard anime is I want a new cast of characters. That's all I want. A new cast of characters playing the card game a bunch, just having fun playing the game, slice of lifey stuff, you know, that kind of thing. I feel like this isn't like the most controversial opinion, right? Like, I feel like this is the kind of thing everyone wants. In terms of like ideas for premise, I have had one floating around for a while, and that's that if the original Vanguard and G were set around like teenagers playing the card game in a card shop, I like to think about what the kind of natural progression of that would be. So like instead of just having another series of teenagers hanging around in a card shop, I always like the idea of the next series being more like adult characters, like in their 20s or whatever, who work as commentators for Bushiroad. And so they kind of travel the world going to different tournaments and stuff and playing and researching the game themselves too, so that they can become better commentators. I always really like that idea. It would be something fresh and new, rather than just hanging out at the same card capital over and over again. I always thought that would give some kind of fresh air to the series. But honestly, yeah, anything, just new characters. You know, you can sprinkle the old characters in there here and there if you really want to. But I just want to see some new characters playing the game, and that's all I really want. Meow or Nya? Either's fine. I'd be more of a cat person than a dog person. I'd be more of a dog person than a cat person, so I don't particularly care. Not all of my answers are going to be very good, huh? What do you think of Spike Bros and Nectar in regards to their cards in Zero? I think that honestly both of them are two of the more fun clans to play. I do think Spike Bros is a bit irrelevant until they get their next wave of support. But I do still think they're really fun to play. Any deck that requires you to make decisions is a fun deck in my opinion. Because with Spike Bros and Nectar, you have to decide about when you want to attack and which cards you want to bring out so that you can maximize your offense with Spike Bros and your defense with Nectar. You know, it's not like MLB, which, yeah, I know MLB is the cheap shot to take the jab at right now, but MLB is a deck where you just kind of use your deck searcher cards to search for the free blaster units, and then you put them out on your field, and then you win. There's no decisions to really be made with MLB, whereas with Spike Bros, you're constantly trying to decide whether or not it's worth using Brachy's effect. Because if you use his effect, you'll be more likely to get an attack through, but you're also getting rid of him and losing the intercept. Like, there's a lot of questions that you need to ask while you're playing Spike Bros, and that makes them a lot of fun in my opinion. Good, not so great right now, but still fun. If you were a Vanguard protagonist, what kind of story would you lead or deal with? Again, similar to the previous thing I said, I would love a story with more adult characters, because I feel like the average, at least Western Vanguard fan base is a little older than Yu-Gi-Oh! A lot of the people who play Vanguard were people that started off with Yu-Gi-Oh! And then kind of moved on to Vanguard as time's progressed. And so I feel like older, like, you know, protagonists in the like 20s could work. And I like the idea of dealing with slightly more, like, for example, Vanguard started off with fairly basic, like, you know, the card game helps Aichi get out of his shell and become less shy by introducing him to new people. And that's a really good, like, character storyline. I really like that. But then there was, in G Next, the introduction of Tokuha using the card game to kind of grieve a friend's death. And I feel like Vanguard should keep that up. They should keep that momentum of, like, using the card game to deal with like more grown-up and mature issues. Obviously don't get like grim dark or anything, but like having them use the card game to tackle topics that adults would really resonate with and are a bit more nuanced and complex than just teenagers, I think would be an interesting step for Vanguard to take that would separate it from a lot of its competitors. If you were an Angel Feather unit, what would you be? I don't know. I feel bad for giving so many questions to Shaft, but I do not know which one I would be. I'd have to think about that more. Maybe if this becomes a series, I'll come back to this one later on. But yeah. Okay. What was the experience like trying to hang on playing through the V-Series sets until your favorite main clan gets V-Series support? That's really interesting. That's a good question. Yeah, basically, I think that is one of the biggest problems with the V-Series, and it's one of the ones that gets discussed the least because, for example, and a very extreme example of this is that a lot of people, like Vanguard Insider, have Gear Chronicle as their favorite clan. And so to go from Gear Chronicle getting constant attention and support during the G era to getting absolutely nothing for like, what, 2 years? Yeah, I can definitely see from that point of view why a lot of people would just keep playing premium and just ignore standard. I do think introducing the different formats just splits up the fan base, and I think splitting up a fan base like that isn't the smartest idea. But yeah, I mean, in regards to me, I just picked my favorite clan that was currently out. So out of Q4, I like Oracle Think Tank the most, and so you just play those. And then there's also like the trial decks and stuff, and you just basically, you keep picking your favorite clan that's currently out until you get to the point that the clan you actually like is out. And I do think it's not great, but I mean, you know, they're not exactly going to be able to release every single clan immediately when they reboot the series. If you could choose out of all the cards, which one would be your waifu? I don't even know. Mainly just because there's so many cards. Like, I don't know. Yeah, geez, I don't even know. I can't. There's just too many cards to choose. I'd have to I'd have to actually research that and just look at every card ever made to actually pick out a definitive answer to that one. What do you think of Link Joker and the lock mechanic in general? They're cool. See, at first I thought that I didn't know whether or not this was referring to the anime or the clan, but then they specified that it was the lock mechanic. And yeah, I think Link Joker are cool. They're one of my favorite clans. I don't have much to say about them. I just think they're cool. Which I think is part of the course, right? I think a lot of people like Link Joker. Which grade nociel would you head pat? That one I do have an answer for, and it's always Love Machine Gun nociel, so the grade 2 one. That's the best nociel. Fight me. Can we have a Pokemon battle? Maybe? I don't know. What games do you play besides Zero? I've been playing a bit of Animal Crossing recently, although, let's be real, it's kind of lost my interest. That game was really fun for like the first month or so, but after a while I just kind of lost interest in it. I also played a lot of Sword and Shield. I recently ramped up with the Isle of Armor. I still need to get around to playing Luigi's Mansion 3. I've got that on my Switch and I haven't played it yet. I've been playing a bit of Yoshi's Island for the Super Nintendo recently. Basically, listen to that. Like, I just kind of play whatever. I've not been like the biggest like hardcore gamer for a while. I play games pretty casually nowadays, but I do definitely at some point within the next year or two just want to set aside as much time as possible to just play a ton of games, because there's a lot that I really want to play that I haven't gotten around to yet. How do you get into Vanguard in the first place? Fairly simple, basically. I used to be a really vocal and really big Yu-Gi-Oh fan, and so a bunch of people recommended Vanguard to me. People who hadn't even seen Vanguard, but they're like, hey, this is a thing that seems similar to Yu-Gi-Oh, you should watch it. And then I watched it. And I was like, cool. I mean, it's obviously more complex than that, but like that's the basics of it. Favorite rider belt? Build. I really love the shaky bottles, and I love the like gear that turns and everything, and that's the only one I own a physical copy of too. Like, I own that belt physically, and it's really fun. So yeah, the build driver. What do you prefer more, standard or premium? What do you feel feels more consistent? Do you watch any anime apart from Vanguard? If so, I would love to hear some. Okay, so standard or premium? For now, just standard. Just because I think that's the most beginner friendly, and it's the most like, this is what bushiroad want the Vanguard experience to be, you know, like, whereas premium just feels like what the fans want Vanguard to be, if you know what I mean. And that also keys into what's more consistent. Which one doesn't have Zazen? The one that doesn't have Zazen is the most consistent. Do we watch any anime? Yeah, I watch a lot of anime. I not anymore actually. I went for a big anime phase in my teenage years, but now that I'm an adult, I don't really watch anime as much. Not for any particular reason, just because I'm busy and I'm watching tokusatsu stuff instead. In terms of anime, I do recommend Gurren Lagann's good, which I know that Different Fight made liking Gurren Lagann his whole thing, but I also like Gurren Lagann. Gurren Lagann's good, Tanami Galaxy's good. Recently been rewatching Space Dandy, that's really good. Been watching the current series Precure, that's good, that's officially on Crunchyroll if you're in America. This and that. There's a lot of anime I don't really care for. Oh, One Piece. I know, you'll probably be making up all the jokes in your head and going, oh, but what, isn't One Piece the really long one? Yeah, it's long, but it's good. All of it's good. Shut up. Anyone that says it takes like hundreds of episodes to get good is lying. Watch One Piece. How long have you played Vanguard, and do you play any other card games? Yes, basically. I played Yu-Gi-Oh! For ages. I went for a real... in my school, see, in the UK, we have a secondary school that is basically middle school and high school combined. We had that, and at that school, we had like a Yu-Gi-Oh! Club where instead of going out to play sports and stuff, we just go in the library and play Yu-Gi-Oh! And that was during like the Zexal era, so I was running a Bujin deck because I pulled a Bujin Yamato in a pack and he was worth a ton of money and I really liked the look of him, so that was the deck I ran. And then there was like a friend of mine who was like a tryhard that ran like the Brotherhood of the Fire Fist deck. And then when he introduced pendulums, I was like, I don't know if I care as much anymore. And then when they introduced Link Monsters, I was like, yeah, I don't think I like Yu-Gi-Oh! That much anymore. Like, I don't hate it, but I certainly don't have any reason to play it. And then there's also Pokemon. I play Pokemon quite a bit. I think Pokemon is like my go-to casual game. I think Pokemon is really, really fun to just kind of bust out a couple decks, do a couple games, but not get like massively committed to it. That's just my game for when I want to have some fun with no real commitment. Just pick up some cards, play a few rounds, have some fun. Pretty much everyone I know knows how to play Pokemon and understands it and everything, so you don't need to worry about like going around and asking people if they know what Vanguard is and then being like, what's a Vanguard? In regards to how long I've played Vanguard, not very long. It's actually been more recently that I've properly gotten into the Vanguard card game during the standard era, which is probably why I lean more towards that format. Mainly been playing deletors, which I know is a very outdated deck, but it's the one I like playing right now. The problem is, of course, because of the current state of the world, looking back to the beginning of the video again, because of all that stuff, I haven't really been in the kind of place I'd like to be in terms of splurging on cards, but I do want to get to that point within the next few months. And once I do that, I'll probably, transfer over to the kind of content I'm making too. Once I'm buying more physical cards, I'll be making more videos about the physical cards. And that's pretty much every question in the Discord server. So I don't know how long this video ended up being. I just kind of recorded for a bit. But if you would like there to be a sequel to this or whatever, leave some questions in the comments and I'll get around to those when I can. And be sure to like and subscribe and that kind of stuff. And I'll see you later with some more videos.